shit. Sorry, excuse my language. The weight to scare on now. Here maybe inappropriate. Anyway, you didn't get it, whatever you did. Okay. Right. Swedish. It's just really hot here. Mm. Right, so I was at the gym earlier and I started working on this. I want to just make an improvement or basically a new feature to the CSV exporter. Not exactly sure how to do this, what's the best way to do this, but in principle, basically I want to export I want to have something like if option export entry ID. This option I'm not exactly sure how to do, like what should it be? What if you want to export other IDs or in different ways? I don't know. I want to try and make it something I can change easily the way it's done. Right. Right, so if we export to let's just do it like that just to get it to compile. Now what? Let's close the program. Laptop feels a bit slow, and the reason for that I think is probably choose a power plan. That's not it. If you choose a power plan while it's thinking about performance. Let's reconnect. I can change the power plan while I'm in MSTSC. That's strange. If the entry is masked out, then we don't write the entry ID because the entry is marked out. So I think this is the right place for this. Totem 6 and I'll export. If we go to like RTF export, then we have this panel here. with the RTF export options. I want to add, I think, such a generic panel to the general settings over here, and then these are in fact the same options we see here. Exporters. I have about 2 hours. Then I'll probably have to take a small break again. I had to do some shopping earlier. And shopping quite a tiring exercise. Exporters, rich text format, exporters, RTF, exporters, run optioning, option, data options, format options. Yeah, I've kind of regressed a little on the coffee. So I want to go back now to no coffee again. But I haven't had as much as I used to have. I've gone down like to yeah, I have about half as much coffee as I used to have. But just to get through the past few days. And but I think from tomorrow I want to be off coffee again until such time as I sort of need it again. Also, I was riding on the motorbike. You know, yeah, combination of lack of sleep, and then I've got to be alert for the training, and I've got to ride my motorbike through the traffic. I'd rather have a coffee and be a little bit more awake, and hopefully be less likely to crash my motorbike. So I was 1 week without coffee, and now, but I think tomorrow I'll be off of it. I think it's probably okay to have like every now and then. I don't want to be permanently just totally off. I don't want to be like totally addicted, where I'm having like 6 cups a day or whatever. Yeah, it's not very healthy. Oh, Basically, yeah, I'll have up to 3 things here usually. It's coffee plus water. Water has a little bit of creatine in, and then protein drink, some sort of protein. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have here. I have normally coffee plus water, plus protein. So that's obviously for different purposes. The coffee is usually just to help keep me awake and alert and focused. Water is just to stay hydrated, and creatine is also just to help energy. Also, and then the protein is just to maintain muscle mass and to try to build muscle mass. Yeah, that's basically it. That's all I drink. There's nothing else funny. I don't have fruit juice. That's got a lot of sugar in. I don't drink anything with sugar in, which rules out just about every drink on the planet. Yeah, almost any drink that you buy in the store is got sugar in it. What a sweetener. For me, the jury's out for me on sweeteners. I haven't decided yet if they're good or bad. I used to use sweeteners a lot, but then I decided it's better to just get used to the taste of things without sweetener. But yeah, if you see me with 3 mugs, it's coffee, water, and protein shake. That's basically it. I'll often start with a protein thing in the morning, and just to try and maintain a steady supply of protein to the muscles, so that they don't deteriorate. Somewhere around here, I must add a new option. But I want to make the option temporary, because I may change how it works. Export as data options. Is it a format option? No. Is it a data option? No. Yes. No. Yes. It's a bit weird. I don't quite know where this option belongs. I know I want the option, but I don't have a good feel for where it belongs. I'm not quite happy with it being just here. That's but I think it's one of those things I'll need to sleep on, as in a year from now, once we've handled other requirements, it may become clearer to me. I'll just do it in a way that I can change it again later quite easily enough. By that I mean not adding it to the Lua API, because once it's in the Lua API, it's kind of like Aaron said the other day. You know, then you're supporting it the rest of your life. Okay, exporters. I'm going to add it as a data option. Or exporters data options. It's not really a data option. It is a data option. Well, there's two different levels. The two existing data options decide which entries are included. This doesn't decide which entry is included, but it does decide whether or not additional data is included inside the entry. So I don't know if it belongs. I mean, yeah, we have so-called format options that turn on and off certain things in the output. But it's not a format option because it's got nothing to do with formatting. It's like somewhere between a data option and a format option. Anyway, I'm going to make it a data option, but or it should just be, no, it's not, I'm not going to make it a data option, I'm going to make it a new thing. Temp, something not called temp, but I want to pass this subfolder to the export style sets. Where is that exposed? I pointed to a boolean that's instantiated there. That's pretty weird. There is a good reason for it. Looks very silly. Boolean pointer equals new bool. There's a good reason for it in that context. Anyway, so the text exporter no, what? I'll export all style sets. It's none of those. I think I want a new folder. I want a panel like this, but like the RTF exporter has its own panel, right? What do I want to do here? I wonder if this should just be specific to the CSV exporter. Why would you don't want to use it in the Word exporter? You might want it in the XML exporter. That's definitely possible. So, like in the formatted XML. But you're probably going to want it in some different way that is not currently. Phew, I really want to add this thing, and in principle it's really easy, but deciding exactly where and how to add it is not so easy. Route str. Let's see void route str. Who implements this? This implements this. The RTF generator overrides it. The text generator overrides it. The CSV exporter, that's the one we're interested in. The formatted XML route str, okay. FMPP tag. Basically, for the formatted XML exporter, we want a tag, special tag. Formatted XML exporter, we probably want its own special tag here. So it's exactly and do that. Question. Why is there this giant gap over here? I can't even read, like... Why is there a giant gap there? On the left. Was that always there? Did I only just notice it now? There's green stuff. And it indicates the marker. That's not very well designed. Because it looks like there's a tab there. It looks like there's an extra tab. And now over here it looks like there's two tabs. When I turn on the tabs, then I can see it more clearly that there's not an extra tab there. Anyway. It's double brackets. If we had one more bracket, it's like that thing people mark Jews with on the internet. I don't know why I thought of that. Okay. I know. Right, so we have these 7 entries. We want to export them. We want to export them with the IDs. XML formatted. Let's see how it comes out. Yeah, that's pretty horrible. So we want it to have like so we want something like this, but we want to call this before we call the out s. But the problem is that that thing is specific to the deformatted XML exporter. So we need maybe a new virtual function, like begin tag. It's horrible. Or we must create a special node type. Yeah, why not? Special node type. Actually, Actually, it is basically an attribute. It's a special attribute. The ID is a special attribute. And in fact, in the XML model, ID is an attribute in an XML document. The maybe we should just stick to that semantic conceptualization of it as a attribute, and then create a special attribute on the fly. Because ultimately, it's like a pseudo attribute, element attribute ID. The ID attribute specifies a unique ID. Is that an HTML thing, or is that a XML thing? It is actually an attribute in XML. It's not. We have an XML DTP, but the ID is a special thing. It doesn't have an attribute. It doesn't correspond to an attribute, but it is actually an attribute. This document defines the meaning of the attribute XML colon ID as an ID attribute. What? If in XML documents, pressing of the IDs in the absence of what? Foundation. Must it be XML colon ID? What is this? That's value must be unique within the XML document. Each element must have at most one single unique identifier. I want to check something because we may be using this already in the EC project, and I want to see how it's done there. Oh. It basically proved that you. Well, those all ones. Okay, that is the one that was in question. Seems to actually be running now. I don't know if his background is still there. Okay. Your XML ID, but I don't think it's special in any way. Let's check if our source code does anything with it. The reason why I don't know, it sounds like something I should know the answer to. The reason why I don't know is because this was done by my colleague Malcolm Clark. This part of the okay. The importer looks at it. That's it. Okay. So what happens if I do something like this? So in theory we want something like this, okay? Okay. What is this out case? There's so many outs. This out eventually calls the other out string, but it translates entities. So we don't want to translate entities because we're generating IDs. We tag the string. So my original instinct to do it as a attribute is probably more correct. Like I had done it, but instead of a null attribute, I'm going to create a special attribute. So this will probably crash. Okay. Everything else can be default. Let's say, actually it won't crash. Will it crash? That's this is very weird. Okay. And start. We create a dummy style. Okay. So we created a kind of a dummy style and a dummy attribute, and then we can export it as an attribute. Do not know if that'll crash. It's a very weird thing to do. It may crash because that attribute is not truly in the document attached to that element as an attribute type. And I don't even know if we should support such a thing, such a case. But the I don't know what the correct answer is though. The correct answer, I suppose, would be to literally add the attribute to the document, but that is a non-trivial exercise at this point. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a filter, and we're going to say, but now if we add it as an actual attribute, then we don't need to add a special option, because it'll just become another attribute. Look, there it is in the HTML preview. Obviously that should be off by default. So now we're going to export that as CSV, and we're also going to export it as XML formatted. And in theory what should happen is we should, voila, that's what I want. Oh, but that doesn't make sense. What? Why is it double tagging? Double tagging, that sounds, that's perverse. Double tagging. Maybe this function calls begin attribute. I don't even remember. Yes, this function calls begin attribute. Not new DOM, means old DOM. Okay, that's the old DOM stuff. Not. That's an interesting notion. What if we just add it as an attribute? Wow, no, that's a can of worms. But if there is already such an attribute, then we actually do want to use it. Phew, this is, wow, it's a bit complex. Okay, begin attribute, add highlights. There's a whole lot of advantages to having it as an attribute. There are some disadvantages as well. Like it will make editing the documents take more memory. Will it? Yeah, maybe slightly more memory. No, not actually. Not actually, because if you get rid of the old testing ID, that'll be a massive job. There's no way I'm going to recode that in half an hour. That's days of work. But if you look at the EC stuff, then there's an XML colon ID attribute, but it doesn't actually hold the attribute, the TEI XML ID. Oh, interesting. Malcolm implemented it as a Lua script that returns the actual underlying ID. It's an interesting way to do it. That's nice because then it still corresponds to the real ID, but oh, it prefixes this. So it's a string that includes the work, so the ID is the document, followed by the underlying node ID. I need to think about that. Phew. I need a solution I can commit in half an hour. So back to that history story. Take away the begin attribute and the end attribute because that happens inside there. Hmm. Right, let's see. That's what we want. Okay. Well, technically it should be inside the entry. But right in a minute. But that's almost impossible to do in some reasonable way. That is impossible to do in some reasonable way. Phew. Short of actually adding it as to the document, that is not reasonable. We can't suddenly add the attribute to the document on the fly. The implications of that are significant. Let me see how the CSV looks. It's probably okay for now to do it like that, but it's not. Something I'll have to think about again in the future. Maybe the ID should be an attribute always. That's what we should move towards. The attribute should be an ID like it is in, but let me just check again the generated page. Where's the generated H? Structures, I think. Structures to generate an H. Okay. This TC node, there's a lot of them in memory for really large documents. So we don't want to do any things that increase the, you know, we have documents with millions of nodes. So we want to try to do this in a way that does not bump up the amount of memory that each node instance takes. So if however, so what we're talking about is getting rid of this, replacing it with an attribute. If it becomes an attribute, then it lives inside here. This replaces the old attribute, saves memory, it's a pointer. So what's going to happen is it will use more memory, it must use more memory, because nodes with no ID could previously have this as null. Now every node will have an ID, so that will have to be instantiated. For documents where there's always an ID on the attributes, the amount of memory usage will be the same. This is redundant, we can save RAM here by getting rid of this. How bad is the memory usage, I wonder? Like, is it really such a big problem? Let's take a document like, I don't know, yeah, that's a good question, that's a very good question. If we look at a document like a VAT, which is pretty big, that reminds me, see how many nodes it is. In theory, this is redundant because the element knows the number of attributes, but there may be what it could also do is, instead of having this, there could be, oh no, it doesn't really help. I was thinking one could null terminate that, but does that help? Not really. No. There might be specific instances where this is not set, where that should be. Or where they go out of sync briefly, like when the number of attributes changes. But that could be handled specially. So we don't use unions much. Does everybody know what a union is? It means that all three of these variables occupy the same space in memory. So not used often. So it's basically the same memory space, 4-byte memory space. That's either a string or an integer, or a pointer to a vector of integers. depending on the attribute type. And there's always only going to be one attribute type. So the value, interpretation of the value depends on, so you can use it incorrectly, obviously. You could, if you use this variable, you're going, and it's a string, you're going to dereference a string as a vector, and it's probably going to crash. But I mean, obviously you need to check the type. What is it talking about? Whether this is, look at this. So it's going to make a little thing there. What I want to do is look quickly at the full statistics also. I'm running out of time. This has let's see, 11.6 million nodes. The 11.6 million sure, this calculator is so big it's just comical. It's just comical. So if we could trim that and we save how much RAM? 46 megabytes. That's not even a lot. Something though. 46 megabytes. There's probably better ideas for saving memory. Using some sort of smarter virtual heap thing for the strings, for example, that could save a load of memory. And then you only, when an entry needs to be changed, then you convert the read-only strings to writable strings. We could also in memory compress things. That's something else, another idea. Node's parent, we have to have vector of children. This could possibly be something slightly more memory efficient than vector. I wonder what is the size of a of this. Hold on, I want to open. Is that mixer icon? Need to just log in quickly there. Just log in. Follow. That's odd. I said thanks, that would be great, and your chops that off. Just thanks. How do I reply to a message? Reply. 6,000 followers. Upload. Channel views 154. One live. Channel views 154. Why can't I use a JPEG as a avatar? Why can't I use a JPEG as a centered. And there we go. Yeah. Game is streaming. Art. No, I'm not doing art. Programming. I mean, I am doing art, just not right in this very second. Channel audience. Family friendly. Teen. I don't know. Teen, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I am doing art, just not right in this very second. Keep recordings of my streams. Why not? Teen. I don't know. Teen, I guess. Okay. Yeah. Guess I don't keep them forever. These streams must take so much disk space. Anyway, where was I? Yes, looking at the memory usage, I wanted to know what is the size of this thing. We're going to quickly hop into the... Anyway, where was I? Yes, looking at the memory usage, I wanted to know what is the size of... So I know this closes external dependencies. That's... So many external dependencies there are in this application, there's like billions of them. Message replace silence app. Yeah. How many external dependencies there are in this don't know the size of that thing, memory-wise. On a 32-bit. I'm gonna 6,000. Oh, they kept for 14 days. That's alright. Yeah. Of course I want to save them. Why wouldn't I want to save them? Okay. Oh, they kept for 14 days. That's alright. Yeah. Oh, well, I suppose I might not want to save them if I'm doing weird things. Well, I don't know what food is. If I'm doing weird things, I'm putting it online. I don't even know what that means. Weird things. Okay. Right. Where was I? That CSV, that's what we want there. Temp. 12. So that's 12 bytes. Bytes, 32 bytes. So that's 12 bytes. So one of these. In theory, that would be some sort of specialized thing. We might be able to jump 4 bytes at best. We need the size and the if we can trim 4 bytes from that structure and 4 bytes from the MN attributes, then we've saved 8 bytes, which is 100 megs. Still not a lot. Where did most of the memory go? I have a document open. Like that document, this document is 11.6 million nodes, and RAM usage is 1.1 gig. So the obviously that 46 meg is not exactly a gigantic portion of that. there's about 400 meg of strings in UCS2 UTF-16 format. 400 meg of strings that so that is at least half, at least 400 meg of that. The rest must be overhead. Of course, I would love to just compile the application in 3064-bit mode. That is not a small job, because we have so many third-party libraries. All these libraries need to be rebuilt in 64-bit. Tools options. Of course, the memory usage just goes up if you're in 64-bit mode too. But you break out of the 4 gig process limit. So if you've got a machine like this with 32 gig RAM, you could have TLEX running or TLK running with 8 or 10 gig used. No problem. So I think that is important to do eventually. And I think we can also save a lot of RAM by doing... No, actually that doesn't really help. Oh, couldn't. I'm getting sidetracked here because the RAM issue is not what I wanted to look at. I'm getting totally sidetracked now looking at this RAM issue. So the size of a TC node is 36. So if we could like 8 bytes of that. So we have 11.6 million nodes in that document. Times 36. What? What? 11.6 million nodes with 36 bytes each. That's a lot of the memory. Wow. That's no joke. What about look, there's never like a huge number of attributes. What if we use a 16-bit integer for the number of attributes? And we also use a 16-bit integer for what? I don't know. that is quite a substantial portion. So if it's 400 meg of text and 400 meg of nodes, that's where someone sent a query the other day. That's partly why I'm looking at this. They have really large documents. So TC text node. There's 40. And we have how many of them? In this document, 6.1 million. So more than half of the 11.6 million take 40 bytes, 250 meg, 11.6 million minus 6 million, that's 132, 250 minus 250, 426 million. Why is the TC node so big? The virtual method table should take another 4 bytes. That we have to have. I mean, we can't get rid of that, obviously. Is it 4 bytes for the virtual method table? I think so. Right, so then there's 4 bytes for the VMT, 4 bytes for the ID, 12 bytes for that thing. Yeah. So that's sitting at 8 plus 12 is sitting at 20. Another 4 bytes, 24 bytes. That's another 4 bytes. I'm sitting at 28 bytes. Plus another 8. That's where we get to 36. We could, in theory, save memory for big documents by storing having an option to store the in-memory strings as UTF-8. It wouldn't work for languages like Chinese. It would in fact use more RAM. So it would have to be an option. For a document like this, you could easily save, like the VAT, you could probably save 200 megs of RAM. But I mean, 1 gig of RAM is not that a lot. Just get a machine and 1 gig of RAM, it's not like a problem. So, okay. And how would that work though? Because the attribute value can't be UTF-8, can it? could add a attribute value. We could add a new piece of metadata on attribute in the DTD editor. We say UTF-8. Save as UTF-8 in memory. Yes, it's not weird. But I mean, we have your data type. I guess text would be a data type. Text UTF-8. It's not really a data type. It's more of an option. But that's one approach. I mean, I think we need a multi-pronged approach to saving RAM. That could be one approach. Another approach would be trimming the size of the TC node. Another approach, 64-bit mode. Another approach. Well, that doesn't trim RAM, but it allows the program to handle more if you have more RAM. It actually expands the RAM usage. But if you have a big document that doesn't fit in 4 gigs, you can then you could have arbitrarily you could have a 20 gig document and just load it into RAM. The 64-bit doesn't necessarily need to massively increase the RAM usage if we're smart about it, because a lot of these things can stay 32-bit values. In fact, some of them, like a number of attributes, this could be a 16-bit integer, and it could be, but I mean that doesn't trim anything because of the padding. Does it? Well, I wonder. It could, because we could use the. It just might slow the application down slightly, because nodes might be less likely to be aligned to 4-byte boundaries. The architecture, the 32-bit Intel architecture, is faster fetching bits of memory when it's aligned to 4-byte boundaries. So I think they're optimizing compiler by default. If you have a structure that's 8 bytes or 8 bits, 2 bytes or 4 bytes, or 2 bytes like a 16-bit value, or pad that structure out. But you can turn that option off, and that might actually be something. Let's try that. Let's quickly try that, even just as a quick experiment. That should be interesting. Let's make this. That could almost even be 2560 probably pushing it. Pragma push. Remember what is Pragma options for the packing? Pragma pack. Pragma. I don't know what the. There's some hash pragma thing you must specify. Or something, which is really about suppose that to be a 16-bit int, just for interest. Types. I think we set in something called platform.h. 16. I just want to see if that actually has any effect on the memory usage. I don't think I think it's to say I'm sure we can get away with not even having this variable at all. With a little bit of work, a few hours. It's risky though. Could introduce a crash bug. So we would do it with a hash define any such change. Something like negative DJ something. Yeah, anyway. Why not just null terminate the damn thing? Oh, but then you're still using memory. You're still using memory. Yeah. So it's still 36 and 40. But no, yeah, as I thought, it's I think it's expanding everything to 32 byte boundaries. So at the top of the class, let's grab the push. Push. I'm gonna go see as well sleep. Mm-hmm. Pragma, push. 1. I wonder if we can just put it around a single barrel. I don't think so. I think it must be around the whole struct. Unknown pragma. What? Oh, not push. I don't know if we can do that. I'm just testing quickly. I suspect not. I think it must be around the whole struct, the whole part. Sorry, excuse me. I think an option to store the strings as UTF-8 is a no-brainer. Even though the main question is just how and where do you select it? Because for a Chinese document you don't want to do it, because it's going to make the document bigger in memory. But our two customers with the largest databases are using mostly Latin alphabet. Encyclopedia Catalana and the Afrikaans dictionary. Node must have a link to its parent. You can't get rid of that. It appears to have no effect. It's not necessarily surprising. Okay. And let's see if that has an effect. It does mean that the number of attributes is being changed from, if I do this, 4 billion potential attributes on an element to 65,000 attributes on an element. But isn't that crazy in the first place? Is anyone really going to have a document? Is anyone going to have an XML DCD with 66,000 or more attributes on an element? You're doing something wrong if you're doing that. I suppose it's possible, someone out there. I wonder if the XML spec says anything about that. I don't think we need to score it. I suppose there might just be someone out there, one of our users, who has a document with 66,000 attributes on an element. So I'll have to have the loader check. Did that make a difference? I think so. That was 36 before. Now it's 34. Okay. So here's a change we can make that can easily save 2 bytes per node, which will save for like the byte document 22 meg, which is a start. That's something. Because things are not 4 byte aligned anymore, the nodes, it could slightly. Would it? Can it? I'm not even sure. We can do speed tests though. We can do automated speed tests before and after very easily, using things like the monkey stuff. Okay. Attribute added. There's no reason even for this value to exist at all, mind you, because it's duplicated. The node is an element, and the element has an array of attributes. So via the element, we know how many attributes we have. Just wondering if there's situations where there's no attribute. Oops, no, I do not want to turn on filthy keys. I hate these stupid shortcuts. Turn off.
Always scan this section. Always
Stop. Turn on filthy keys. Turn on filthy keys. The computer ignore brief keystrokes. No, I don't want to ignore brief keystrokes. Okay, where were we? Other things we can do to speed up. Replace all the structure optimizations. That's not serious, that's an embodied smell. I don't think that's necessary. Access to export options. Okay, that worked. That pragma it worked in making the just want to see if it makes any visible difference to the. It should also be around the. should be around the TC text class. Should also be around a C data. This should trim about, what, 20 megs of that memory usage of the WRT document. I'll probably need to take a break from the stream in a minute. Control 3, 4. Different 1, 2, 4. Think back. Gosh, my memories used to be in the 34, 38, so that uses this memory. Pragma push. Why is not getting the results? Pragma. Oh, Pragma pack coming. Seems like a in theory that should use slightly more memory. That looks no different. 1.134. 1.134. What? Huh? One point one three four. Back to my packs. There we go on again. In theory, this should slightly improve. This pragma pack thing should slightly improve the memory usage of the application for that large document. That 1.134 should be about 20 megs less. I wonder if the heap aligns to 4-byte boundaries anyway. Like even if the struct doesn't align to 4-byte boundaries, maybe the heap does. So the only time it'll make a difference is in... Yeah, it'll never make a difference then. That's probably what's happening. So to really save, you have to save 4 bytes. So yeah, that's what I'm guessing happening. That's why it's still taking the same amount of memory. The heap probably allocates blocks in 4 bytes at a time or something silly. Does it? Would it really do that? I don't know. It's possible. Not sure. 1.134. Let me just double check that it really is taking about the same. Should take 20 megs less, according to my calculations. 22 megabytes less. 1.134. Okay, what was it? Control Shift Escape. 1.134, it's exactly the same. Oh, that's 1.134.192 kilobyte, right? So megabytes would show up where? There. Or there. There. Yeah. So, yeah, it's the same. There's no saving. So that Pragna made no difference to the actual memory usage. That probably means that the heap is assigning instances in this heap aligned to 32 bits. Oops, that's a thing for me. Sorry, unfortunately my daughter's here. I've just got to take care of it for a few hours. Alright. Yeah, I'll try be back as soon as possible. Okay. Okay, that routine is for me.